requires the organization that I represent. We have been working on silicosis for a long time. And while there are many experts in this room who are very knowledgeable, for some people silicosis may be a new name or maybe a bit unknown condition. So I think it will be helpful for me to speak for a couple of minutes on what does it mean, where does it come from, and then I'll go deeper into what we do. So before understanding silicosis, there is a word called pneumoconiosis, which is defined as a group of occupational lung diseases which are a result of inhaling dust for a long time. When you keep inhaling different types of dusts, and your lung turn into solid rocks, which can't breathe, which can't make any movements which are required for respiration. That is pneumoconiosis. Pneumoconiosis is always linked to an occupation, an industry, which is a hazard. And there are different types of pneumoconiosis that we see. The commonest forms are, there is a disease called coal workers' lungs, which is in coal mines. If we talk about our country, that is more prevalent in the eastern part of the country, states of Jharkhand, Bihar, Bengal, where there is a lot of coal mining. There is another condition called asbestosis, which is found in asbestos mining in certain parts of the country. And then there is another form, which is silicosis, and which is the topic of my talk. So silicosis is another occupational lung disease which is linked with silica. And silica, as we all know, is a dust particle in the form of free silica or in the form of crystalline silica, which is found in many different types of mines, but most commonly in sandstone mines. Sandstone is something which is mined in different parts of the country. The largest numbers of those mines are available in the state of Rajasthan. You may have heard all these beautiful monuments in Delhi, India Gate, Parliament House, the Rashtrapati Bhavan is all Rajasthan sandstone. And also a lot of marble, which we see all over the country, which also gives way to silicosis. So what is silicosis? Is basically a condition in which people keep inhaling this silica dust for years and years, and they reach to a point where they can't breathe. Imagine a living person who can't breathe, and then gradually people lead to their end, because silicosis is not reversible. It is a condition which will keep progressing. It's a gradual decline, it's very painful, very difficult life, and then of course very painful death. The other disease which is very similar to this disease is TB, that we know more commonly, tuberculosis. And the difference is that TB is communicable. Yeah, we can give it to each other through air, whereas silicosis is non-communicable. It can't be transmitted from a human being to another human being. But the problem is that the two diseases are so similar in terms of clinical manifestation, in terms of what people complain of, how do they look like, what would be their socio-economic status, because we know TB is also a disease of basically people living under poverty, because of many other aspects. That has been the problem. There has been a big problem because people with silicosis are often misdiagnosed as people with TB. That's one problem. And the second problem is that oftentimes the two diseases coexist, known as silicotuberculosis. And then the challenge becomes even more critical. What has been happening? Let's first of all speak globally. About 100 years ago or so, in the beginning of the 20th century, in a lot of today's high-income countries, the European region, North America, Far East Asia, silicosis used to be a highly prevalent disease with industries, with occupational risks, hazards, but due to a lot of interventions, the situation has been controlled significantly. So the prevalence rates have gone down. That's not the case in India and in a few other countries. Examples would be China and South Africa, but there are still a lot of unregulated, unprotected kind of mines or quarries, and the prevalence rates are very high. So let me then jump into what we are doing. So GRAVIS is an organization which is based in the Thar Desert, I told you in the beginning. And by the way, wonderful presentation from you, Dr. Bora. There is a lot that we do similarly, and there is a lot that we need to learn from you. But our two key focus areas are community health programs and livelihood support interventions to the communities. And as you know, Rajasthan is a drought-stricken state with a lot of food insecurity, poverty, water insecurity. So those are the two large programs that we do. It was about 23, 24 years ago when we realized that there is something happening in the mining communities of Rajasthan which is not TB. Because till then it was thought that people are suffering with a lung condition, which is TB, and then TB is sometimes cured, sometimes it's not cured, and people eventually die if they are not cured, if they are not properly attended. So then we as a group thought that there is something wrong and something else is going on, and the knowledge on silicosis at that time was very limited. It continues to be not very expanded even today, but at that point of time it was very limited. So a few efforts were made by GRAVIS. First of them was to have a collection of chest x-rays of people with lung symptoms. And we used the help of National Institute of Occupational Health to get those x-rays certified to make sure that we can say that there is silicosis. Moving forward, then we took up some interventions such as organizing a state-level conference at that point of time, which was the initial momentum-setting, activities, and gradually silicosis emerged as a public health discussion in the state of Rajasthan, and then gradually, nationally, we were able to reach out to the Human Rights Commission, to judicial bodies to look into this issue. And as a result, in late 1990s, the state of Rajasthan, on the directive of the Human Rights Commission, was able to form Pneumoconiosis Control Board. And the main function of that control board one is to inspect the air quality, the mining sites, how the work is happening. And the second one was to certify people living with silicosis so that they can get government compensation. And the government compensation is now happening in Rajasthan, which is a positive news. So it's been a 25, 26 years journey for GRAVIS, and many organizations have contributed in it. And now many more organizations have joined the campaign. But we would definitely like to feel that we realized that there is a problem which was not moving into the right direction. So the initial efforts were taken up. But since then we have worked on a ground level situation on many fronts, many aspects. We have a full-fledged medical program which is about providing diagnostic support to people who work in these mines, as well as palliative care, because that's the only thing which is possible so that people can prolong their lives and can die with some sort of comfort. There is a strong focus on outreach, health services, which is a screening in the mines, educating mine workers as well as mine owners. It is really important to make sure that the owners who own the mines, they understand what are the risks, what are the conditions, and what are their responsibilities towards the mine owners. towards the mine workers, I'm sorry. We have also been doing a lot of work on publishing what we are doing. So a number of research studies have been conducted by us, quantitative as well as qualitative, on silicosis as well as on the combination of silicosis and tuberculosis. Those studies are available on our website, and I'll be happy to share the link with some of you who might be interested. But overall, all of this has definitely taken an advocacy shape, and a number of different forums, dialogues, meetings have been happening. And as a result, people now know that there is a disease called silicosis. And almost every mine worker now knows that there is a potential threat called silicosis that they live with, which was not the case 25 years ago. Whether silicosis is preventable? Yes, absolutely. It is preventable. There are means, methods, tools which should be exercised. Of course, it takes an effort and the reason to prevent it, and it can't be cured. I'll just take one more minute and we'll wrap up here. We have come a long way, and we have partnered with a number of organizations nationally, globally, and have been able to highlight the silicosis plight in different forums. And for the last 1 year or so, we are working with IDS, India Development Services, based in Chicago. And we have been focusing on outreach medical services, as well as training and capacity building of different organizations working on silicosis. Moving forward, and this is my last sentence, I think the combating silicosis story is still a long journey. There is still a long way to go, and I think many other organizations who are working at the ground level, at the policy level, at the public health thinking level, they need to be together in a collaborative approach, because this is a major epidemic. Thank you.